What's going on, everybody? My name's Giraffe Anatomy, and this is another quick god guide. Today, the god or goddess that we are taking a look at is going to be Athena. So the purpose of this video is just to go over Athena's basic kit. We're going to go over her passive, her abilities, kind of talk about what they do, how they operate, a quick way or two that you can combo them together. So hopefully by the end of this video, you're able to get into an arena, a joust, a conquest game, and be able to utilize her effectively, sort of have a basic idea of how to use her kit, and be able to use it pretty decently. So what I'm going to do, without further ado, let me get into jungle practice, and we will start there. So Athena is categorized as a guardian, which basically means that she does magical damage, but her basic attacks are not ranged naturally. They are basically within a few units in front of her. One thing you will notice with her passive, though, is she does kind of break outside that mold a little bit, and I'll show you that here in a second. But basically, Athena does magical damage. Her normal basic attacks are just like this, right? So they're just right in front of her. And really, Athena can be played in 3 roles. Her main role is support as a guardian, right? You can build her tanky. You basically use her to help CC enemies and protect your teammates during battle. But Athena can also be flexed into the solo role, or she can be seen as a jungler as well. She actually does pretty well in both of those other roles. So you will see her in support most of the time. You'll see her in solo a good amount, and then you'll see her as a jungle every now and then as well, as a magical jungler, and that's because her kit allows her to do this. The way her kit's designed and the type of damage that she can do with it, and the way her ultimate works, she ends up being a good solo laner, a good jungle as well. So if you are support, you will build more like a cooldown on her and defense items, just to be able to use your abilities fast, and also be really tanky for your team. With solo, you're going to build her a hybrid of damage and defense, be a little bit tankier, but still be able to do some damage. And then with jungle, you're basically going to go all damage with her, mostly damage, maybe one defensive item. And then you are going to be dealing a lot of damage. Your ultimate does a lot of damage. You can use it to dive with, like, either with your support or your solo lane or something like that, kill some squishies, those sorts of things. So without further ado, let's get into her passive and talk about what this is. So this is where she kind of breaks out of that mold of, oh, her basic attacks only are a few units in front of her. Her passive actually changes that. So her passive is called Reach. After using an ability, Athena's next basic attack is ranged, passes through and hits all enemies, and deals 50% increased damage to the first enemy hit. Reach's damage will trigger basic attack item effects, but not ability ones. So what that means is it won't trigger ability effects, extra ability effects, but it will trigger basic attack item effects, like Polynomicon is a good example of this. We'll talk about that in a second. But after you use an ability, Polynomicon basically gives the next basic attack you do extra damage. This will also work with that, right? So let me do this. I'm going to level up all her abilities. And let's talk about her one first, and then I'll show you her passive, right? And how it kind of coincides. So her one is called Preemptive Strike. Athena powers up for a dash. While dashing, Athena will pass through minions, stop and hit the first enemy god she encounters, dealing damage, and slowing all she hits. If she hits an enemy, Athena gains 1 stack of blocks, max of 3 stacks, absorbing the next basic attack from any god that hits her. So really quick, I just wanted to show you what it looks like. It's basically this. You press the button, you will charge up. You need to spend that time charging it. Athena can get stunned out of this charge. Just to let you know, she can get like frozen by Ymir, or she can get like taunted and other things. If a god's just hitting you with basic attacks and damage, you'll still be able to charge it, but you can get like stunned out of this charge. So you need to make sure you're doing it in a safer area, and just be aware you can be stunned out of it. But once she is charged up, you see this line, like she can't jump or anything anymore. She basically needs to use this ability, right? And whether you left click or not, she's going to dash after you have that charge, but you can keep it there indefinitely. So you can actually charge it up before a fight and run around with it fully charged. Also, with her passive, right, like we talked about, after using an ability, Athena's next basic attack is ranged. So basically, when I do this, you see how a spear pops up here, the tip of a spear? and her spear is glowing, that means Athena's next basic attack, when you left click, is going to throw a spear out, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Right? See how that spear went out? That is basically her passive at work. Anytime you use an ability, that will work. So whether you use her 1, her 2, her 3, your next basic attack will range. And you can use a basic attack, not hit anybody, and you will get this spear to be able to throw out at people, right? So yeah, so that's a way that you can utilize a passive and realize the first enemy that is dealt damage gets 50% increased damage, but it will pass through multiple targets. So once again, say I dash and I get the spear. If I'm over here, I can actually hit both Odins with this. See how it hits both of them? The first one will take more damage. The second one will take a little bit less, but you can still hit both of them, right? So yeah, so that's her passive. That's how it works. We'll talk a little bit more about like items that synergize with this and stuff later. But let's get into her 1 a little bit more. So this power up, this dash, and what's it doing? So basically, when you power up with her dash, you have to channel that for that little period of time. Like I said before, you can get stunned out of it, but then you basically have this line. And when you hit an enemy god, you basically slow them 25%, and that lasts for 2.25 seconds. So it's a really great engage tool as a guardian for Athena to basically start with a dash. You can auto somebody, and then you can start getting into the rest of her kit, right? It can be used as an escape tool, but you kind of have to have it like in hand. Like I said, if you're trying to escape and you're trying to charge it, you can get stunned out of it. You can get like knocked up, like all these other things. So it isn't used as like the best escape tool. But you can use it if you see them coming from a little farther away. They haven't jumped on you quite yet. You can try and charge it up and leave. A good rule of thumb is to try and keep it charged most of the time. When you're running around in lane, you should basically like kind of have it charged before you engage and kind of be running around and kind of be ready to use it to engage somebody. So even if they're diving your enemy team, you already have it charged. And that way, oh, Odin's coming, I'm diving. I can charge him real quick and apply that slow so he can't get to my back line as easy. So you're helping them defend like that, right? Also, you noticed these shields start popping up when I use this ability. These are Athena's block stacks. So when you use this ability, Athena gets a block stack up to 3. What does that do? It absorbs the next basic attack from any god that hits her, right? So I will show you real quick what that looks like when Guan Yu comes out here. Or I'll use Neith because she uses basics, right? See absorb? And see how it absorbed 3 times before she started doing damage to me? Those were all my block stacks. So you can keep track of your block stacks here and know how many that you have before you start engaging with an enemy, just by looking at this bottom left-hand corner here and seeing how many block stacks that you have. Cool. So that's basically her 1. We'll talk about how it synergizes with things like Polynomicon and some other abilities later, but let's talk about her 2, which is called Confound. So Athena releases a shockwave of power from her shield, taunting enemy gods and forcing them to fight or chase her. So the taunt duration starts at 1 second, goes to 2 seconds when it's fully maxed, and then it does damage as well. So this is what the ability looks like. It's a cone, and anybody within this ability is going to be forced to engage you. They were going to turn towards you. If you're right in their face, they will start attacking you. If you're a little farther away, they're just going to try and run to you to attack you. So I'll show you what that looks like here. When you taunt Odin, see how he's like trying to attack me? I'm a little farther away right now, but basically for those full 2 seconds right now, because it's fully maxed, he's going to try to get to me and attack me. This is a very good tool to engage with enemy teams because you're basically focusing them off of your squishies, like your mage and your carry, and you're making them focus on you instead. And during that time frame, your enemy can be attacking them, attacking them, doing things to them, stunning them, doing damage to them. 2 seconds is a lot of time. It normally is a very good thing, and when this is on cooldown, you can do it quite often. It's a very good thing to engage with. It's a very good thing to peel with. You can peel off of your teammates. So say they're attacking your teammate right now. You basically just walk up to them, press this. They're not attacking your teammate anymore. They're starting to attack you. So it's a great peel tool to use as a defensive thing. It's a good thing to use as an engage tool. If you use your 1 and I'll wait for the ability to come back up. If you have your 1 charged and you're with your teammate and you can say, hey, we're about to go in, I'm going to basically slow them and taunt them. You basically do this, taunt them, they're stuck slapping you, and then your teammate can basically hammer on them for those 2 seconds. So that's the basics of her 2. Let's talk about her 3 real quick. Shield Wall. Athena summons a group of Athenian warriors who do damage upon arrival, and after 2 seconds, strike for additional damage. It's pretty simple. Basically, it has 2 damaging states. The initial damage, and then after 2 seconds, it'll do another damage here. Basically, it's this circle here. It doesn't go out from her. It's just like within this radius. You can't like aim it anywhere. But what it looks like is if you are near somebody and you use it, it will do that initial damage. After the 2 seconds, they hit the ground, you do additional damage, right? So basically what you want to do when you're engaging with people, this 3 is going to be your main clear tool. If you're trying to help clear wave and things like that, you're going to get your 3 first when you go into wave. And when you're fighting people, you kind of want to start with it here and stay in it, right? Because then they're going to take that second wave of additional damage. They can walk out of it and not take that second wave of damage, but your goal is to try and keep them in there and make them fight you inside of it, because they will take that second wave of damage. Now, a way to do that, using just these 3 abilities, what you can do is you can normally place your 3 down first, auto, taunt them, and they will come in, and you can keep them inside the circle. So really, when you start a fight, like I said, if you're going to engage with your 1, you can do this. That taunt has a long cooldown right now, but I will get cooldown and show you guys what it looks like when you have full cooldown on Athena. But basically what you can do is you can start a fight with your 1. You come in here, auto, 3, taunt them, auto, your second wave of your 3 goes. That's basically your full damaging combo right there. Because you hit them with their 1, they're slowed, so they're not able to just immediately run out of your 3, right? If you just start by coming in with your 3 first, that Odin's still pretty fast. He can walk out of it pretty fast, right? So your goal is to 3 and normally taunt them back into your 3. So sit in your 3, taunt them back into it, and that'll do a lot of damage in and of itself. You can combine the 1 if you want to by starting with the engage. So you're basically going to start with your 1, hit them, 3, taunt, keep them in the circle. Your 3 does its second wave of damage. The entire time you're autoing. If you can get your autos in before these, in between each one, you're also doing that extra basic attack damage with your passive here. So really, I know it's probably hard at first to do all these things together, but really the combo that you're trying to hit with Athena is you want to charge her 1, hit it, auto, 3, auto, taunt, auto, right? You're trying to auto in between each one, because that's how you're going to maximize Athena's damage. You can auto between using each of these abilities. You're getting her passive, that base ranged basic attack, dealing that 50% increased damage each time. It's really going to chunk some people, especially squishies, when you can do this to them. Once again, I will show you that. You're basically going to charge your 1 up before you start engaging, pick your target, and you're basically going to do this. You're going to charge at them to slow, auto, 3, auto, taunt, auto. And you want to taunt them back into your 3, sit inside your 3 as you do it. You can do it faster than that, you can practice it, but that's basically her main like kit dump combo there. Cool. So now that we've talked about all 3 of her abilities, let's talk about her ultimate. And to do that, I will change teams real quick. So we're going to change teams. So now these Odins that are blue are on my team. Those Odins are the enemy team. And Athena's ultimate is a great one. It is called Defender of Olympus. It is a global ultimate. What does a global ultimate mean? It means it can be used across the whole map. It doesn't matter how big the map is. As long as you have an ally you can go to them, right? So let's read it. Athena picks a single allied god anywhere in the world and launches herself up into the air, landing next to that god 3.6 seconds later. During that 3.6 seconds, the allied god gains 30% damage mitigation. Enemies nearby, when Athena lands, take damage. They take a lot of damage too. As you can see, it's 670 when it's fully maxed out, right? So at level 20, it's going to be 670 damage. The best part about this is the mitigation, and I will show you what it looks like when you press the ultimate. Athena basically goes into this stance, and what you can do is you can look around the whole map and find any ally. It doesn't matter where you are or where they are. It can be over a wall, across the map, whatever. You will be able to ult to them. And so basically you're looking for them, and you basically want to get circled in here. And once you choose which ally you want to go to, you left click or you press the ability again. And that's how you do it. And she will go immediately to that ally. While you're channeling that ability, you will see right below them on the ground, it will show that you're on your way, and enemies will be notified of it. Your teammates will be notified of it, right? Let me do this. I'm going to reset the cooldown. Change team. I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick. So even if it was to this Odin that's right here, right? See that circle under him? That lets everyone know, hey, Athena's coming. And then that whole radius, right? You're doing damage in that whole radius. So you kind of want to use it for one of two reasons. First reason is teammate of yours is getting dove, and you want to protect them. You can use Athena's ultimate to give them 30% damage mitigations while you're channeling it, right? So say Odin's getting dove right now. I basically just ult him real quick during this whole time. He's getting 30% damage mitigation until I get there. And then when I get there, I basically want to taunt people, use my 3, like get them off of him, right? So when you're using your ultimate, sometimes you can ult and then 3 and 2, but more often than not, if it's like a dire situation and your teammate is in trouble, you're going to want to try and taunt right away to get them off of whoever's being attacked, right? So if your carry, your hunter is being attacked and you ult to them, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to try and taunt right away, which is my 2. And I'm going to taunt the enemy off him, right? And then I'll press my 3. And then I'll do my charge and slow them and stuff. But you're trying to get them off of your teammate as soon as possible most of the time. If you're using this a little bit more aggressively and you're kind of coordinating with your team, you can say, your teammate can say, hey, I see this person, he's out of position, Athena, ult on me. And it can be your jungle if you're like the solo or support, or you could be the jungle and it could be like your solo or support and they're saying, hey, let's attack this person. They get to that person. You can use this as an offensive ult as well. So when your teammate is starting to dive an enemy teammate, so I've seen this combo before where you have a Fenrir on your team. That Fenrir is going to go and put somebody in his jaws with his ultimate. When you see that happening, or if they tell you beforehand, hey, I'm about to ult this person, you can channel your ultimate on them. And while Fenrir has them in his mouth, you can ult to them and do the extra damage to them as well, right? And then when you come down, you place your 3 down, auto, taunt, auto, right? It's not working on Odin because he's my friend right now, but you could basically do that and then start with your 3 and your 2 as soon as you come out of ult. You're not really going to dash right out of your ult because it channels and sort of takes the surprise away. You can use your dash, your 1, as a chase down tool after they're trying to get away from you because you just did a ton of damage. Then you can press your 1. All right, they're there. Chase them down, and then keep attacking them and slow them and all that stuff. Cool. So that kind of just goes over everything Athena has in her kit in general. Let's talk really quickly about some items and things that she can utilize. I'm just going to really quick just get some things here so I stop getting that message. If you are a support, obviously you're going to start Sentinel's Gift, and then Gauntlet of Thieves is always good. But you can build things like Pridwin. Pridwin is super good on Athena. And with just Gauntlet of Thieves and Pridwin, you're already getting the 20% cooldown. You're pretty tanky and you're pretty beefy at that point. Pridwin's passive goes really well with your ultimate, which is when your ultimate ability has finished casting, you gain a shield equal to 90% of your protections from items and abilities for 5 seconds. So normally if you're playing Athena as a support, you almost always get Pridwin, just because it works so well. So basically you're getting an extra shield after you ult. So I'm going to do this real quick. Reset the cooldown. I have Pridwin. I will show you as soon as I ult to somebody and say it's a fight and I'm trying to save my teammate. You see this shield that I have for a few seconds, right? It's extra damage mitigation, and it does like the explosion and everything afterwards. So this is a great tool to keep you alive. So when you ult and you start taunting all the enemies around you and they start attacking you, that Pridwin is saving you from a lot of damage there. Really great item on Athena. It works really well with her. And then, like I said, and then it will also explode and deal magical damage equal to 75% of the shield's initial health and slows targets by 25%. So you're basically coming into them, coming into that team fight. I'll do this one more time. With this, I guess it doesn't reset the cooldown on the item. Whatever, it's almost up. You're basically going to go here. Once it's good to go, you're going to ult to the enemy, right? You got the shield up. You're going to taunt them. Place your 3. They should be right near you. And when this pops, right? Get near them, that will pop, do extra damage and slow them too. It's a great tool to like turn a team fight on. Really good on Athena. So at this point, if you're going support, you're going to see a build somewhat like this to begin with. And then you can do a couple things. Obviously, if they have anti-heal or something, Pestilence is really good on her. You kind of want to try and get to a full cooldown build with her. 20% with Pridwin is good. If you are going to go other utility items, you can eventually get a breastplate, and just with Pridwin and breastplate, you get 40%. Sometimes you can skip the breastplate though and do something like sovereignty. You can do other things like Genji's guard, and then you can do like a Witchblade. This will still give you the cooldown between Genji's guard and Witchblade, and then sovereignty's helping your teammates out. Like, this is a pretty decent build on her. Witchblade is for auto attackers and things like that, so you're hampering auto attacks. You can also get something like Winged Blade, but I probably wouldn't recommend that as much as something like Witchblade if they have more than 2 auto attackers on their team. So if they're Hunter, they have a jungle that's also auto attack based, and if they have another mid like Olorun, Soul, Poseidon, even if they have Solo that went Hunter or something, Witchblade's a really good item to use all of them. It's really good in team fight, and it'll give you that cooldown. If you're not able to go Witchblade and you can only do Genji's Guard or something like that, like a Mantle of Discord is fine at the end here. You're going to be super tanky with this build. You're going to, like I said, once you have your items stacked here, your full Gauntlet of Thieves, right? You have 308, 287. Those are great protections. You also have full cooldown. You're able to have Sovereignty for the physical protection for your teammates, those sorts of things. You can sometimes build Sovereignty right after Gauntlet of Thieves and then Pridwin third. Or you can do vice versa. This is always a pretty decent start on her. Sometimes you want to build Sovereignty a little earlier though, because you get a better use out of it. But yeah, so these are pretty good builds on her. Like I said, if you can get to that 40% cooldown, her ability rotations come up a lot more often. Whoop, I keep forgetting that these guys are on my team now. But you definitely have less abilities on your cooldown. That's more times you can start taunting. More the quicker your 1 is up to chase people down, right? It's on like an 8-second cooldown. So she does kind of want to build cooldown a lot there. So yeah. If you are going to go like a solo build or a jungle build, I'll show you what that kind of looks like here. So if you're going to go jungle, like I know she's using jungle, you're basically going to get Bumba's dagger with her, and eventually upgrade to Bumba's hammer. You can upgrade to Bumba's spear if you want, but Bumba's hammer is going to work really well because after casting ability, your next basic attack deals like true damage. Plus with her ranged basic attacks and everything like that, you can do that like very effectively with her. This item synergizes really well with her kit. And then you're normally going to get things like you'll probably get like a Bancroft's Talon with her, and then Polynomicon. One thing I do want to talk about is a really good item on her if you are going even in solo, just grabbing this as like a one-off item, or in the jungle. Its passive synergizes with her really well, so using an ability gives your next basic attack within the next 8 seconds 75% of your magical power as additional damage. It can only apply once every 3 seconds, but normally, keep doing this. Let me change teams so they're enemies again. There we go. Reset the cooldowns. And you'll see this passive work really well, where you basically are able to do this, and you're doing so much extra damage. You see that 57 that came up there? That was basically the extra polynom damage coming up, right? So you use anything, and you can even ranged basic them. You're gonna hit them with that Polynomicon damage. It does a ton of damage. I'll show you what this looks like without this. Right. So you can do your ranged basic. See how it only says 72? It doesn't have the secondary number on it. With Polynomicon, you can use those ranged basics and the power of those ranged basics to basically do a ton of extra damage to anybody. Right? So Polynomicon is a really great item if you're a solo or a jungle with Athena. She utilizes it really well. And the fact that it comes up every 3 seconds and you can use each ability and throw that ranged basic, you can really chunk and whittle people down away with it. It's quite annoying if you're versing it all the time. You basically do things like this and still be hitting them with poly, and you will chunk with poly if you're building full damage with Athena. So you're able to do things like this, and you have that range. It's sort of like this weird extra ability, and remember, it will hit multiple people. So you can do something like this, and although the first one does extra damage, it will still hit like a second person behind it. So poly will apply to that first person, but you can still do extra damage to extra people behind it, just like her passive says. So yeah, so you'll build something. Not probably a Book of Thoth. It'll probably be a one-off poly, and the rest of your build is going to be somewhat like a combination of cooldown, penetration, like that kind of thing. If you're building this with Athena, you'd probably do something like this, and like you might be able to go poly first, or like a Bancroft's. Nimble Bancroft's Talon might be good on her with the attack speed, but you probably won't use this as much as like Bancroft's Claw is like a good upgrade on her. So you can get Bancroft's. You can probably get something like the Poly, right? You'll want some cooldown and things like that as well. So getting something like a Spear of Desolation would be good. You want some things like Rod of Tahuti will be really good on her as well, because you need the pen to go with this. And then something like Obsidian Shard. These are all good items. You'll do a lot of penetration with them as the game goes on. You'll chunk a lot of people. The Bancrofts is more like sustain and things like that. It's not absolutely necessary if you're going poly. Sometimes you can go actually, Typhons might actually be better with her, just because it's going to go with Polynomicon here really well. And you're going to get 10% penetration from that, 10% penetration from this, plus a 20, plus the passive of Obsidian Shard, right? So this is a pretty good build. And then Bumba's, you'll eventually upgrade to Bumba's Daggers. So you have 10% cooldown with this, another 10% here, so that's a total of 20. It's not a ton of cooldown, but you'll still be able to chunk and do a ton of damage with a build like this, right? You're basically just like kicking the crap out of people with a build like this, right? You're going to do a lot of damage, and Bumba's helps you get those abilities on cooldown a little bit better with a build like this. And then the Typhons obviously synergize with the Poly because they're both magical lifesteal. So you're going to be able to maybe sustain in a fight a little bit more with something like this on her as well. And like I said, this is a jungle build. This is if you're going like full damage, something along those lines. If this is the case, it might be best to go like Poly then Typhons first, and then you go into Spirit Desolation. You can fit a Divine Rune in here as well if they have a lot of healing and you need to do healing on your team. You can probably throw that in, replacing maybe like Typhon's Fang, or maybe Spear of Desolation with it, and trying to rely on Bumba's Hammer more for the cooldowns and things like that. But you won't get that until level 20 when it's able to be upgraded. So yeah, and then more of a solo lane build, right? So solos can build her, and they get a very good utilization out of building like defense on her, as well as items like if you're going to go to starter on her for solo lane, I know Warrior's Axe will be good on her. You can also do something like a Vampiric Shroud to help you sustain early. You can do something like Tainted Steel if you're versing somebody that heals in solo lane. You could get like a Conduit Gem, I guess, if you wanted, or even like a Sands of Time. I guess you could go one of these two, but I probably wouldn't use these in solo lane as much. Sands of Time is good because it gives you that cooldown, but you'd probably do something like Warrior's Axe, Conduit Gem, or Vampiric Shroud with her. And then what you're going to do is once you get some of these items in solo lane, you're going to still build like defense. So if you're versing somebody physical, you'll probably rush Breastplate of Valor. If you're doing somebody magical, versing another magical in solo lane, you would get Genji's Guard or something like that early. And then you can get things like Void Stone, right? So if you went Breastplate of Valor, you can get Void Stone because it's going to decrease their magical protection, things like that. You can still grab like a random Polynomicon, and then you can still get things like a Pridwin. Like even with this build, you're gonna start and keep doing damage, so you can still build a Pridwin to like use your ultimate. You can also do like a Mantle of Discord last. Like you'll still be pretty tanky. You'll still do some damage with this, right? The way like Poly works and everything like that. It's a pretty good build. But like I said, experiment with her, right? In solo lane, there's all kinds of things you can build on her, but she does like the cooldown, right? And so technically I've overcapped on cooldown with Mantle of Discord here if I do get Pridwin. So you could, instead of Mantle, you could get something like Hide of the Urchin is really good on her. You probably want to build it a little bit early so you can get the stacks and things like that, or even something like a Magi's Cloak. Like either of these would be fine. These do offer that cooldown, so if you don't go Pridwin, you do probably want to grab something like a Mantle of Discord on her, and then you can do something else kind of on the end here. But I think Pridwin's just still like a really good item on her, getting the 20% cooldown. You can do something like Ethereal Staff. So you can build Ethereal Staff on her. Maybe you don't grab this, but you grab the Pridwin instead, right? This you'll do a lot of damage as a solo laner on this. You're stealing the health and everything away from your targets too. So yeah. That's the basics of Athena. If you guys like this video, feel free to let me know in the comments below. If I missed something or if you guys recommend something else that's a good tip or trick, always feel free to comment and let people know kind of what you guys think, what you think better builds would be on her, better utilization of her kit and stuff like that. If you haven't already, there's a link to our Discord that we run called the Smite Dojo. Feel free to join it and join our community. We basically love playing Smite. We play a bunch of Smite together. We help new players. We help returning players. We have mentors in there that are like masters and diamond level that can help teach you guys and do one-on-one trainings and things like that. And then even if you want to come in and do ranked and stuff with other people, feel free to come in. You can add the more experienced players and see if they want to play ranked with you. If you just want to come in and do meme builds and like not be judged or anything like that, you can do that as well. We're very inclusive. We're super non-toxic. If you want to learn the conquest game mode or any game modes or any new gods, and you feel like, hey, I might not be very good at the game or anything right now, like, don't worry. We've all been there before. We all understand, like, when you're new, it's like a struggle, and playing with others, like, sometimes you can feel like you're not doing very much or you're not doing very well. Like, we don't care, right? That's basically why this Discord was created, was to help new players and returning players get back into the swing of things, enjoy playing the game, play it the way they want to play it, and not really be judged for it or have people flame them, right? So we're basically here to just play Smite, really enjoy it. We're going to give you as much help as you seek out. So if you're asking questions about builds or gods or whatever, we'll respond as much as you want to, you want to take, we will give, right? So as engaged as you are, we'll engage you guys back. So feel free to join the Discord. That'll be awesome, and I look forward to seeing you guys there. So thank you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I will talk to you later.